Imagine this beautiful coastal region, traditionally farms, fishing, suddenly on the cusp of this huge transformation. Today, we're taking a deep dive into what's happening in the Sindhudurg real estate market right there in Maharashtra.
That's right. We've been looking at a pretty detailed report. It really digs into the forces, the dynamics shaping this district as it changes.
And our mission here is simple: to help you understand what's really driving things, the opportunities, the crucial factors you need to know. Think of it as your shortcut to getting up to speed on a really fascinating, fast-moving market.
Exactly. For a long time, Sindhudurg's economy was, well, pretty reliant on the usual suspects. Agriculture, fisheries, a bit of mining. But there's a definite shift happening now. You can feel it.
And what's behind that shift?
It's largely planned development.
Yeah.
Industrial, yes, but especially tourism. We're seeing this consistent upward trend in the district's economic numbers. The GDP and DDP figures show robust growth, particularly between 2020-21 and 2021-22. Pretty strong numbers there.
And this focus on tourism, it's not entirely new, is it? It's been sort of simmering.
No, not at all. The district was actually officially designated a tourism district way back in 1997. So that label, it was an early sign of where things might head. And now, well, with all the recent developments, that potential is really starting to kick off.
Okay, let's unpack this then, because it feels like infrastructure is the main engine driving so much of this. It's the catalyst, right?
It absolutely is. And airport development is a huge part of that story. You've got the Sindhudurg Airport, Chipi, which became operational back in October 2021.
Right.
That immediately helped places like Tarkarli, Malvin for tourism. And the idea was always local jobs, too. You're seeing more flights now, like FLY 91 connecting to Pune, which helps.
But the real game changer, the one everyone talks about, isn't actually in Sindhudurg, is it?
Precisely. It's the Manohar International Airport, MOPA, over in North Goa. And the key thing is proximity. It's incredibly close. 14 kilometers from the Adali industrial area in Sindhudurg, a short drive from many southern parts.
And the impact on property prices, we heard it was significant.
Oh, yeah. Substantial. The analysis we saw suggests property prices in Sindhudurg jumped somewhere between 25 to 40% pretty much right after Onge opened.
Wow.
It basically catapulted the district into being this, thriving second home market almost overnight. And you've got potential spillover from OP's planned Erosity in Goa, too. So having two airports nearby, Chipi and OP, that's a unique advantage.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for accessibility. The road connectivity is also getting a massive upgrade.
Yes, another absolutely critical piece of the puzzle, the Konkan Expressway, the Mumbai-Goa Coastal Highway. It's getting close to completion. Reports say about 95% done by maybe June 2025.
And this is a serious highway.
Oh, yeah. 6 lanes, access controlled. It's designed to dramatically cut the travel time between Mumbai and Goa, down to maybe 6 to 8 hours.
Which makes Sindhudurg suddenly feel much closer to Mumbai.
Exactly. And crucially, it cuts right through Sindhudurg, connects something like 232 villages and key towns directly. This highway, it's a major stimulant for connectivity, obviously, but also tourism, general economic development. Think of it like a development corridor. You're almost certainly going to see land values appreciate along its route, especially near those interchanges. Easy access points.
And aren't there upgrades to existing roads, too?
Yes, the old NH66 is being upgraded to 4 lanes as well. That helps the north-south flow within the region. And beyond air and road, you've got ports being looked at, too. Expansion at Readyport, a new greenfield port planned at Vijaydurg,
Right.
boosting maritime trade. And there's even talk of a ro-ro ferry service, roll-on, roll-off, from Mumbai to Malvan, another transport option.
So it's really hitting multiple modes of transport all at once. But with all this shiny new infrastructure, are there still challenges on the ground? Basic utilities.
That's a fair point. Despite the big upgrades, the report we saw does mention persistent district-wide water scarcity, especially in the summer. It really highlights the need for robust local utilities. And, for things like this workation trend we'll get to, reliable internet is absolutely key, especially for any new developments popping up.
Okay, so connecting back to tourism.
Yeah.
It's not just benefiting from the infrastructure, it's actually driving a lot of the real estate activity itself.
Absolutely. It's a cornerstone, a real catalyst for both the economy and development.
And Sindhudurg has quite a lot packed into it for tourists, doesn't it? More than people might realize.
A huge amount, really. It caters to all sorts. You've got those beautiful, pristine beaches, Tarkarli, Vangurla Malvan, loads of them. Great for just relaxing. Then the history buffs have the majestic forts, like the famous Sea Fort, Sindhudurg Fort, and Vijaydurg. There are religious sites, scenic waterfalls like Amboli, Napane, And for the adventurous types, establish scuba diving, snorkeling, water sports. Plus, the culture Salantwadi toys, those famous Alfonso mangoes, cashews, it's a diverse offering.
What about the actual visitor numbers? How busy does it get?
Well, before COVID hit, the district was pulling in, 12 to 14 lakh tourists a year. A pretty healthy number. That definitely took a hit during the pandemic, dropped quite a bit in 2022, maybe 1.7 to 2.0 lakh estimated.
Ouch.
Yeah. But with the new infrastructure, everyone expects a strong recovery. Sindhudurg Fort alone is a massive draw. It used to account for maybe 70% of the footfall, around 3 lakh visitors a year itself.
And the government's obviously backing this push.
Oh, clearly. The state's tourism policy for 2024 has ambitious targets for private investment and visitor numbers across Maharashtra. And specifically for Sindhudurg, there's this Swadesh Darshan 2.0 scheme. It provides a detailed master plan focusing on branding, unique experiences, better infrastructure, sustainability, and it's actively looking for public-private partnerships, PPPs, for developing beaches, forts, maybe eco-lodges, high-end hotels, that sort of thing.
I saw a mention of some really unique, almost futuristic adventure projects, too.
Yes, these could be real standouts. There's this planned INS Goldar artificial reef and underwater museum near Navadi Rocks, set to be India's first major artificial reef project, apparently. Significant funding allocated.
Interesting.
And a submersible vessel project is also on the cards, designed specifically so non-divers can see the wreck and marine life. These kinds of things add niche appeal, diversify the offering further.
So let's connect the dots. How does all this tourism buzz translate directly into demand for property?
Well, it fuels demand in several ways. Obviously, you need places for people to stay, hotels, resorts, homestays, and services that support them.
Sure.
But crucially, it's really firing up the second home market. Sindhudurg is increasingly seen as this ideal, accessible spot for a getaway property.
Right.
And that, in turn, is driving an upswing in the rental market. The report mentioned an average rental yield of around 7.2%.
That sounds quite high.
It's described as attractive, yeah, higher than some established markets. And it's being driven by both short tour stays and this growing workation trend, people coming for longer, working remotely. So you're seeing demand emerge for, luxury resorts, spas, maybe agritourism setups, even things like glamping sites.
Okay, so tourism is huge. But you mentioned diversification earlier. It's not just about tourism, is it?
No, exactly. There's a
No.
conscious effort to broaden the economic base beyond the traditional sectors in tourism.
What does that look like?
Well, a key project is the proposed Adali Pharma Hub. It's an MIDC initiative, the State Industrial Development Corporation. The aim is to attract pharmaceutical formulation units, maybe machinery makers, printing, packaging industries related to pharma.
Okay.
But here's the crucial part, especially for Sindhudurg. Only non-polluting industries will be allowed.
Ah, linking back to the environmental sensitivity.
Exactly. It's a direct acknowledgement of the district's eco-sensitive area status. They want industrial growth, but not at the cost of the environment.
And the goal behind bringing these specific industries?
Primarily local jobs,
Yeah.
especially for graduates. Sindhudurg has historically seen people leave for work elsewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it actually has a pretty high literacy rate, over 85% back in the 2011 census. So there's potential skilled labor there. This aims to provide opportunities locally.
Are there specific carrots being dangled to attract these companies?
Yes, the Adali area falls under MIDC's Zone D category. Practically speaking, that means significant incentives for investors. Tax breaks, subsidies, making it financially attractive to set up shop there. There's also wider support for small and medium enterprises, MSMEs, through a technology center focusing on engineering and food processing. And the One District, One Product scheme is highlighting processed cashew from the area.
So this industrial development adds yet another layer of demand for real estate.
Absolutely. It creates demand for housing, for workers, commercial spaces, maybe warehousing, logistics, especially with the better roads and ports. It complements the tourism demand, doesn't replace it.
Okay, so let's pull it all together. We've got the shifting economy, massive infrastructure upgrades, a strong tourism base that's getting stronger, plus this push for diversification. What does all this actually mean for the real estate market on the ground? What are we seeing?
Well, it means the market is very dynamic right now. We talked about that significant price jump already, that 25 to 40% increase linked to MPA and the general infrastructure buzz. Some analysts are suggesting that strong growth could continue. We saw projections of like a 22-23% compound annual growth rate, key AGR, for land prices in areas like Kudal, potentially through 2028.
Wow, a 22% CAGR. That's That implies prices nearly doubling every few years if it holds.
If it holds, yes.
Right.
Strong projection. And you mentioned the rental market earlier. That's definitely looking good, too.
Right, that's 7.2% yield.
Yeah, described as attractive. Again, boosted by tourism and this workation flexibility. It's definitely higher than you see in many places.
Is the market just focused on houses and tourist spots? What about land?
No, agricultural land is still a really significant part of the market here, but its value isn't just about farming anymore. It's increasingly influenced by its potential for development, how easily it could be converted to non-agricultural use down the line.
Suggests some speculation there.
It certainly suggests speculative interest is a factor, yeah. And you see huge variations in agricultural land prices across the district because of that potential.
Are bigger players coming into the market now, more organized developers?
Yes, that's another trend. You're seeing the entry of more organized developers undertaking larger projects, not just building one-off houses, but integrated townships, villa communities, places with shared lifestyle amenities. And the fact that you're seeing RERA-registered projects crop up indicates a move towards more formalization, more transparency, which is generally good for buyers.
Who are the typical buyers looking at Sindhudurg these days?
It's quite a mix, actually. Definitely NRIs. Urban investors, particularly from Mumbai and Pune, looking for second homes or weekend getaways. Retirees seeking a quieter lifestyle. People specifically looking for holiday homes they can use themselves but also rent out for income. And, potentially as the local economy grows, the local population might become a more significant buyer segment too. And what they're looking for seems pretty clear. High demand for actual land parcels, low-rise buildings, villas. People want modern amenities, often that sort of resort-style living feel. And location is key. Proximity to the beaches, the forts, or the new infrastructures. Big draw.
Given all these different influences, tourism, hotspots, industrial zones, infrastructure corridors, is the market pretty much the same across the whole district?
Oh, definitely not. It's highly fragmented. You see significant price differences depending on exactly where you are. Malvan, Sawantwadi, Kudal, Vengurla, Dodamarg Maneri near Mopio, Konkavli, Oros, Banda. They all have different dynamics. Proximity to the new infrastructure like Mopia or the expressway interchanges is a massive factor. We saw reports showing areas like Maneri, close to Mopa, having much higher average prices per square foot than the district overall. So really understanding these micro-markets is absolutely crucial. You can't just look at a district-wide average.
Right, that makes sense. Now, before anyone jumps in, especially in an area prized for its natural beauty, you absolutely have to understand the rules and regulations.
Critically important. Sindhudurg's environment is its biggest asset, and it's protected by some significant regulations that directly shape what can and can't be built.
Starting with the coastline, the Coastal Regulation Zone, CRZ.
Exactly. CRZ norms are strict because, well, it's a long coastline. There are different CRZ categories, and they control what you can build, where, how densely. The coastal zone management plans are being finalized, but CRZ is basically the first hurdle for any coastal development. It dictates what's allowed, and that impacts feasibility and cost. Though there was a recent change allowing local bodies to approve smaller homes up to 300 square meters, which might streamline things a bit for individuals. Then inland, you have parts of the Western Ghats designated as an eco-sensitive area, or ESA. This covers portions of Sindhudurg, too.
And what does the ESA status restrict?
It prohibits or regulates certain activities, things like new mining operations, highly polluting industries, the red category ones, and large construction projects over certain sizes, like over 20,000 square meters built-up area, or townships bigger than 50 hectares. Importantly, though, it doesn't restrict repairing or renovating existing houses.
And this connects back to the pharma hub, only allowing non-polluting industries.
Precisely. The ESA status is the reason why. Industrial plans have to align with these environmental protection goals.
So planning a bigger project means more hoops to jump through.
Yeah, larger projects often need a full environmental impact assessment, an EIA. That adds time, adds cost to the whole process.
What about the basics, like just knowing who owns the land titles and records?
That's an area that's improving but still needs care. There are efforts to digitize land records, the Jivant 712 campaign, the National DLRMP program. The goal is updated records, fewer errors, resolving disputes, which is vital for transparency and making investors feel confident. But, these are ongoing processes. The advice is still do very thorough due diligence on land titles. Don't assume everything is perfect.
And do broader government plans dictate land use, too, like zoning?
Yes, definitely. Policies like the State Tourism Policy or the Swadesh Darshan Master Plan provide direction. And crucially, district land use plans, or regional plans, designate specific areas for particular uses. You might see zones marked as exclusive tourism zones, for example. We saw one mentioned for Devgad Taluka's coastal area, designated T5, with a specific floor space index, or FSI, of 0.50.
0.50 FSI, that sounds quite low.
It is quite low, yeah. FSI basically dictates how much you can build relative to the land size. A low FSI, like 0.50, ensures development stays low density, preserving the character and environment, especially near the coast. So navigating this dual framework of CRZ and ESA, it adds complexity, no doubt. It can limit where you build large projects or cause delays, but there's an upside. It forces development to be more sustainable, more eco-conscious, which frankly aligns with what a lot of buyers increasingly want anyway. And you could actually enhance long-term property values by protecting the very thing that makes Sindhudurg special.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize all of this. We've got the drivers, the market reaction, the regulations. What's the overall investment outlook here? Promising, risky, both.
I think the description, promising and dynamic but also complex, sums it up pretty well. The district is clearly at a turning point. With everything coming together, the infrastructure, the policies, there's definitely potential for, well, explosive growth is a term used in some analyses.
And what are the core factors feeding that optimistic view?
It's the combination we've discussed. The game changer, Amopi Airport, and the major stimulant Konkan Expressway opening up access, the economic diversification efforts like the Adali Pharma Hub adding another layer, the strong established tourism base getting a boost, and those market fundamentals, we're seeing that significant price appreciation that already happened, 25 to 40%, plus those attractive reported rental yields, 7.2%. It paints a positive picture.
Are there specific areas or types of property that look like the hotspots?
Well, based on the analysis, a few zones stand out. The area influenced by Umpea, a place like Dodamarg, Swantwadi, Sasoli. Makes sense, right? Direct airport benefit. Along the Konkan Expressway corridor, especially near the interchanges, Kankavli, Kudal, Swantwadi getting easier access. The established coastal tourism belt is still key, Malvan, Vengurla, Devgad, and those industrial growth areas like Adali. In terms of property types, second homes seem like a major focus. Villas, high-end apartments, maybe plotted developments where people build their own. Tourism infrastructure itself is an opportunity. Boutique hotels, resorts, wellness centers, eco-lodges, maybe even specialized dive resorts with those new underwater projects. And agricultural land, but strategically located land with genuine conversion potential or suitable for agritourism ventures. Plus, there's a growing niche for specifically sustainable, eco-friendly developments.
And compared to, say, Goa next door, how does it stack up price-wise?
The general consensus seems to be that right now, Sindhudurg offers a relatively more affordable entry point compared to the more mature Goa market. That affordability, combined with the growth potential, is part of the attraction for investors. Get in before prices potentially catch up. However, and it's important, however, with any market moving this fast, you absolutely have to consider the risks.
Okay, let's talk about the potential downsides. What should people be cautious about?
Well, first, market volatility. That rapid price growth could have a speculative element. We saw some conflicting data points across different reports, suggesting growth isn't uniform everywhere. A market correction isn't impossible. Second, those infrastructure bottlenecks we mentioned. Summer water scarcity is a known issue. Reliable utilities and internet need to keep pace with development. Third, the environmental regulations, CRZ, ESA. While good for sustainability, they can cause delays or hurdles for larger projects. Navigating them takes expertise. Fourth, longer-term risks like climate change impacts on a coastal area. Fifth, execution risk. Will all these big projects actually get completed on time and deliver the expected benefits? And finally, complexities around land acquisition and clear titles. Even with digitization efforts, it's still something requiring careful checking.
So it really underlines the need for deep dive research, doesn't it? Not just taking headlines at face value.
Absolutely paramount. Granular analysis.
Right.
Because the market is so fragmented with big price differences between locations, you need thorough due diligence. General trends are useful, but you need specifics for the exact micro-market, the specific property you're considering.
So looking ahead, what are the key things someone interested in this market should be watching? Key indicators.
Definitely track the progress of the big infrastructure projects when sections of the expressway open, airport traffic numbers. Keep a close eye on tourism metrics, visitor numbers, hotel occupancy rates. Watch the local economy or jobs actually being created. What are the GDP and per capita income trends? Monitor the property market itself, listing volumes versus actual sales, price movements in specific areas, rental yield trends. Pay attention to regulatory enforcement and any policy changes. And always keep an eye on local income levels as a sign of fundamental demand strength. The analysis we reviewed really emphasizes this balancing act. Achieving sustainable long-term prosperity here needs careful planning. It needs strict environmental adherence. It needs continued infrastructure development. And it needs a really nuanced understanding of all those different micro-markets. Finding that balance between growth and preserving the environment, that's going to be absolutely crucial for Sindhudurg's future.
So it's clear. Massive infrastructure, strategic policy shifts are rapidly reshaping Sindhudurg. It's creating some really exciting opportunities, but definitely complex challenges too, especially in such a unique, naturally rich place.
It really is. You've got this incredible natural beauty colliding, in a way, with very ambitious development plans. It makes it one of the most fascinating real estate stories to watch in India right now.
It absolutely highlights that inherent tension, doesn't it, between grabbing that growth potential and making sure you don't destroy the very things that make the place desirable to begin with.
It really does. And it leaves you thinking.
Given Sindhudurg's specific situation, this rapid infrastructure-fueled growth happening alongside quite strict environmental rules, how might this region actually influence how we think about sustainable real estate value going forward? What stands out to you about trying to manage growth in an ecologically sensitive area like this?